I can't believe All Might is asking me to be his successor. This is amazing, but am I truly worthy? I have to call Mirio. No, I have to call Aizawa-sensei. All Might's sweat dropped at his hopeful successor. Probably should have told him this was a secret. Midoriya, my boy. I'm sorry, but you can't tell anyone what I am offering you. Izuku stopped his muttering at his hero's words. Not being able to tell his best friend and adoptive father was, in his opinion, a deal-breaker. He couldn't accept something as big as All Might's quirk without at least asking what they thought. With everything they've done for him, it was the least he could do. Looking to skinny Might, Izuku braced himself for the hero's reply. All Might, sir, as honored as I am that you would offer me the opportunity to be your successor, I can't in good conscience accept. I'm sorry. All Might was speechless to hear his ideal successor rejecting his offer. It was a blow to the gut seeing as he was searching for so long for him. Young Midoriya, why you would reject an offer such as this? Izuku took a deep breath. I just feel that it would be wrong of me to accept such a power without telling Aizawa, the man who willingly adopted me after only knowing me for a year. And Mirio, he's been by my side for almost 8 years. Not telling him would be a betrayal to our friendship. Not to mention, even if I didn't tell Mirio and the others about OFA, they would still suspect something was up since my quirk is pyrokinesis. It's just, I know this is a lot, All Might, sir, but it's the truth. Bowing to the older man, Izuku began his trek home, leaving behind a speechless All Might. Toshinori Yagi had no idea how to respond to what Izuku had told him. Once he realized he was about to let the perfect successor slip through his fingers, he finally got himself together. Wait, young Midoriya, please wait. Izuku was a few feet away when he heard All Might yell out for him. Turning, he saw his hero reaching out for him with a small smile. Izuku Midoriya, you truly have the heart of a hero. Become my successor and I will allow you to tell those you deem trustworthy. He smiled. Tears ran down Izuku's face as he listened to All Might's words. I accept, All Might. Just what I wanted to hear. Now then, when should I expect you to tell Aizawa and the others? He asked. Izuku tapped his chin in thought. The sooner the better would be preferable. However, he knew Aizawa and the others were rather busy given it was the middle of the school year and they were crammed with their exams and internships. Then, as if a light bulb lit up in his head, Izuku told All Might his plan. Today is Friday. All. Please call me Yagi when I'm like this, he smiled. Oh yeah, sure. Well, anyways, since today is Friday, Mirio and the others will be coming over to my place for Katsudon, which makes it the perfect time to tell them. All Might beamed at his successor. Getting things done as soon as you can, my boy. I like how you think. Well, let's go then. We have some news to relay to everyone. And so, the two went on their way to Izuku's house. To say Aizawa was shocked to see Toshinori Yagi on his doorsteps with his adopted son would be putting it lightly. He was flabbergasted, bewildered. Mind boggled any other word which conveyed confusion. Deep down, he had a bad feeling about this. All Might, can I ask why you're with Izuku? Unfortunately, before the hero could answer, a hyper-teen popped up behind Aizawa, eyes wide at the sight of the number one hero. All Might. Oh my gosh, it's All Might. Mirio, Tamaki. Come here, Izukuans, with All Might. Nijire yelled. Izuku's lip twitched at his girlfriend's tactfulness. Oh ho ho, look at our little Izubro making friends with the number one hero of Japan. What an honor to be in your presence, sir. Mirio said, popping up from the ground. Bahaha. Thank you. All Might bellowed in surprise at a boy appearing from the ground. Holy crap. All Might, Tamaki whispered from his corner. Aizawa, finally gathering his wits, moved to the front of the rowdy teens. So again I ask, why are you with Izuku? Ah, yes. Well, take it away, Midoriya. Izuku stared at his new mentor in betrayal. Traitor, he mumbled. Well, Dad, first food. Rolling his eyes at his son's blatant change of subject before bringing the food out. As everyone finished serving themselves and dug in, Aizawa stared straight at the sweating hero. We're eating. Now spill. Aizawa! Izuku yelled. Aizawa glared at the boy, half-heartedly. Right? But before I get started, I want the three of you, looking to Nijire, Mirio, and Tamaki, to swear what I reveal to you will not be repeated outside of this house. The three teens looked to each other before shrugging and nodding to him. Yeah, okay, we promise, sir. The four teens saluted. All Might smiled at the teen spirit. Well then, first off let me formally introduce myself. Deflating All Might shrinks into his true form and waves. You all know me as All Might. My actual name is Tashinori Yagi. The three teens fell over looking at the skinny man who now looked on the verge of death. H. What happened to All Might? Imposter. Run, Izuku. We'll protect you. Enough. Shota yelled, turning to two teens huddled on top of Izuku, who was trying his best not to topple over, and Mirio in front of him with his arms in an X formation. Yagi, explain. Sighing, he goes through the story of All for One and the fight which occurred 5 years ago, giving him the stomach injury. Wait, so you can only go out for 3 hours a day to perform heroic duties? Nijire shouted. You have a transferable quirk that has been passed down through 7 people. Mirio yells. You were quirkless. Tamaki whispered. Indeed. And because of all this, I have been looking for a successor for the past year. All Might reveals. Someone who can take my place once my power is gone. The three teens' eyes widened as they slowly put 2 and 2 together, looking at Izuku. And what exactly do you want with my son? Shota said emotionlessly. Izuku's heartwarming at Aizawa regarding him as his son. And here was the hard part, he thought. All Might knew it was probably going to be difficult asking his friend for permission to have his son be his successor, but he came this far, no turning back now. Shota, I'm sure you already knew this, but your son has the makings of a true hero. His actions today only proved this. Aizawa's glare hardened on Izuku. Yeah, no kidding. Which reminds me, you're grounded for a month. I'm grounded. Yeah, what you did was incredibly reckless, regardless of whether you were saving someone. Not to mention breaking quirk laws. Tisk, shame Izuku, we expected better. Mirio said, shaking his head. Although his thumbs up to the boy showed he wasn't disappointed in his little bro. Izuku simply nodded, not wanting to get in even more trouble, letting All Might continue what he was saying. All Might coughed into his hand before continuing. Yes, as I was saying, Izuku was incredibly courageous, and it was his actions that gave me the final push to choose him as my successor. Shota, I want to pass down OFA to Izuku. Aizawa ran a hand down his face, unsure of what to say. While he knew Izuku had already probably accepted, he was still a bit on edge of whether it was safe for him to do so. You said his actions today was the push for you to choose him as your successor. Does that mean there was someone else who you had in mind or something which was stopping you? Aizawa asked, hoping to change the subject. All Might chuckled, not expecting this question. Well, actually, yes. There was one other person I had in mind, by recommendation of my old sidekick. However, Izuku was my choice. Who was it? Izuku asked, curious as to who else might have been worthy for OFA. Oh well, does it really matter? All Might asked, not wanting to make things awkward with the one in question sitting right beside his successor. Not really, but we're all just a bit curious, Mirio added. Yeah. Who else was good enough to be a candidate? They had to be really strong and brave and have a heart of a hero like my Izukuin if they were even considered, right? Well, yes. Look, just answer the question. Otherwise these three will continue to bug you, Aizawa said. If you really want to know, then they're right beside you, Izuku, All Might smiled. Izuku looked to his right and saw his big bro sitting right next to him with a big smile on his face. First Izuku thought he would get angry or maybe look a bit disappointed that Izuku had gotten OFA instead of him, but instead, like always, he surprised him, but acting in an entirely different way. Izubro. Can you believe Sir thought I was worthy enough for All Might's quirk? Mirio said, teary-eyed. Bear hugging the young boy, Mirio continued to spout compliments about the two. We're gonna be the best pro heroes ever, aren't we, Izubro? With All Might by your side and Night Eye by mine, There's no way we won't be the best superhero duo ever. Izuku wasn't sure whether to cry or laugh at his, at this point, adopted brother's antics. Yeah, definitely Miri bro. Wiping his tears, Izuku looked to Mirio before quietly asking, "So you're not mad I got OFA even though you were also being considered?" Mirio grinned at the broccoli-haired boy before laughing. "Nah, besides mastering my quirk was hard enough. Can you imagine trying to master all mights as well as mine? Ha! But don't worry, I'll help you every step of the way." "You will. Of course, you'll need help managing all that power." What's that all about?" All Might asked. Aizawa sighed. "Honestly, I don't even know. They've been doing that since I've met them." All Might turned to the teens for answers. "Oh yeah, Mirio says that before every attack he does. So does Izuku. It's like how you say smash, they say power." Nijire answered, smiling fondly at the two boys wrestling. "Indeed, if I didn't know any better, I'd say it powers up their moves," Tamaki whispered from his corner. "So, I assume you're all right with Izuku accepting my power? Not like I can stop the kid now," Aizawa drawled. "But I swear if that kid comes home not looking how he does now, you'll pay for it," he growled. Yeah, got it. Yue. So how do we do this, All Might?" "Well, my boy, one for all needs a proper vessel before it can be used. Otherwise your limbs will explode." "What?" All Might hurried to backtrack, not wanting Izuku to back out of being his successor. "But don't worry. Whatever you've been doing has made you more than ready. I swear." Izuku began to calm down, eyeing his mentor skeptically. When he didn't see any signs of deceit, he nodded his head. "Thank the Mirio and Midoriya road to you. A workout plan," Izuku said proudly. "The what now?" Izuku pulled out a stack of paper and handed it to All Might, who leafed through it impressed, before handing it back. "Not bad. I even noticed you added martial arts to the mix. You truly planned everything out. I chose well for a successor," All Might yelled, before deflating back to his civilian persona. Midoriya laughed, nodding his head. "Yeah, well, Mirio and I made a promise to get into you together, and I plan to keep it. So what now?" All Might shrugged. "Now's time for the ceremony." Plucking a piece of hair off his head, All Might handed it to the boy. "Eat this." "What the heck, why?" Izuku gagged. "One for all has to be passed down through some sort of DNA. I figured this would be easier then." "Blood or spit?" Izuku grumbled about how unhygienic this was, but agreed it was better than eating spit. "Oh my god. Did you really use a scented shampoo before coming here? I thought it might make the hair taste better," All Might said sheepishly. Izuku shivered as he felt the hair go down his throat. Do you at least have water to wash it down?" All Might's face dropped, not even thinking about giving his successor something to wash down his hair. No, I don't. Sorry." "Seriously? Geez. Fine, well, what do we do now?" All Might beamed at the young man. "Now we wait. It'll take a bit for you to digest the hair, so in a few hours we should be ready to test out OFA and see how well it meshes with your power. For now, you can go do whatever you want, but come back in about, say, 3 hours to test it out." Izuku nodded his head, before going to visit a few of his favorite pro-hero teachers. "Ragdoll Jr., what are you doing here? I thought we weren't seeing you until Friday at Dadzawa's." Midnight cooed as she suffocated Izuku between her chest. MMMPH, Izuku mumbled. Present Mike chuckled at the young teen. Ever since Aizawa adopted the kid, him and Midnight had decided to be honorary aunt and uncle, spoiling the kid whenever they could. Not that the kid didn't deserve it, but it helped that they received a photo of him and his friends dressed as Eraserhead, Midnight, and himself. Honestly, kids too pure for the world. "Yeah, lil listener. Not that we don't enjoy your visits," he added. "I'm doing some extra training, but thought I'd just drop by to visit," he said, smiling. Midnight and Present Mike looked away from the bright smile. Too pure. After sitting down to speak with the two teachers, Izuku decided it was probably about time to head back to All Might for his training. Once back to the training room, he was surprised to see his friends and girlfriend there too. Mirio, Nijire. "Tamaki, what are you guys doing here?" "Moral support," they yelled, as they jumped to hug the younger boy. Really? All Might laughed at the teens before answering truthfully. Yes and no. They wouldn't stop asking Aizawa for updates on you, so we decided to let them watch you train. Izuku clenched his chest, holding back his tears. You guys? Thank you. Well, now that we have pleasantries done with, ready to get started? Yeah. So how do I activate One for All? All Might stared at Izuku, slightly sweating. Well, I'm not sure. You see, One for All came to me quite easily, so I didn't really need that much training from my mentor. Izuku blanched at his mentor. He was really started to have some second thoughts about this, but then again, if he wanted to stand by Mirio's side, he had to be the best, and being trained by All Might was a good step forward. What about a technique when you use One for All? Mirio offered. All Might puffed back up into his original form at Mirio's idea. Why, yes, I do. When using my quirk, I usually clench my butt cheeks and yell smash. The three older teens, and Izuku held back laughing at the symbol of Peace's explanation for how he used his power, looking in awe as he punched through almost every practice dummy in the training room. Izuku stayed silent, rubbing his chin. Thought, I could probably use the same method as All Might if I didn't already have my original quirk. But obviously I must combine my quirk with One for All, which means just trying to activate it with a punch won't work. If I can activate my quirk from any part of my body, then shouldn't it be the same for One for All? All Might said One for All was a strength enhancement quirk, so does that mean it could enhance my flames? What if instead of trying to punch I try to? Does he do that a lot? All Might asked, watching as his successor continued to unravel how the best way to activate One for All. Oh yeah, all the time. You won't believe how many times we've been kicked out of places because of his little mumbling habit, Nijire said with a fond look on her face. Yup. My little Izubro loves to overanalyze things, Mirio laughed. I got it, Izuku yelled. Within moments of him announcing it, Izuku shut his eyes and took a deep breath, slowly taking a step back, his eyebrows furrowing as he began to summon One for All. Flame on. Is that really how he activates his flames? All Might choked. Only when he's going full flame, Mirio said sheepishly. It took a few minutes for the others to finally notice anything, and even before that they thought it was just a fluke given that his flames were the same color as the lightning arcs emitting off his body. But when their little green bean opened his eyes, that's when they noticed it. Green lightning was surrounding his body, mixing in with his emerald flames, which were burning darker than usual. He did it, Mirio shouted. Atta boy, All Might shouted. That's my Izukuin, Nijire cheered. Yay, Tamaki mumbled. Smiling at his family cheering him on, he took a deep breath, feeling the power of One for All rushing through his veins. Letting himself get used to the feeling before doing anything, Izuku decided to try and move while having One for All activated. Albeit a bit painful at first, he continued to move until it felt natural, stopping at a certain point. Powie ear. The four other occupants stared in surprise at the amount of power that had been released. The blast that he had shot was powerful enough to melt several cement blocks. Izuku stared in awe at the amount of power he had just used, his mind going crazy with the possibilities he could use of his pyrokinesis. If that was how enhanced his flames were with OFA, Izuku can't wait to see what he can do with the telekinesis portion of his quirk. As it turns out though, the adrenaline rush he felt from having achieved this was the only thing stopping Izuku from feeling his destroyed arm. Whoa! Did you see that, Tamaki? Izukuin just destroyed those cement blocks. 1 second they were there, the next poof they were gone, Nijire shouted. Yes, I did. I was right next to you, he whispered. Amazing. You practically mastered One for All in a day, All Might shouted. Izuku held back tears at his mentor's words, as well as the backlash of pain he was feeling. At least my arm didn't explode. Really, that's awesome, he croaked. But All Might, I think I might have overdone it, Izuku said before passing out. Immediately the three teens ran to their friend, panicking, All Might more so than them because of Aizawa's words. Oh God, I'm going to die. He's going to kill me. Hurry, Mirio. Get Izuku to Recovery Girl before Aizawa finds us. Roger that All Might Sensei. Immediately Mirio picked up Izuku and began running to the nurse's office with Nijire and Tamaki on his heels. All Might went to follow, but not before running into Aizawa. All Might, you want to tell me why I just saw my son passed out in Mirio's arms with his arm a complete mess, he growled. Oh wow. Well, showed a funny story. Well, not exactly funny, but look Izuku. For once Aizawa will admit in being a complete fool and falling for All Might's words. When hearing that Izuku might have been behind him, he turned around only to see no one there and turning back around and seeing the hero gone. He only got angrier at the number one hero that day. Well, my boy, if I were to guess what happened, I'd say your output of OFA was too high. Izuku stared at All Might confused. He thought he handled the power quite well, but then looking at his bandaged arm he seconds guess himself. What I mean is while you were using 100%, your body right now can only use around 3%. Quite a feat all things considered. For now, I suggest you practice working with that output amount so you don't end up in the infirmary again and I don't end up in trouble with Aizawa, he chuckled. Izuku understood better now. He might have made his body a proper vessel, but he still needed better training. Okay, All Might, I understand, he said grinning. I know you do, and so long as you continue the Mirio and Midoriya road to you, the plan you'll be more than ready for the entrance exams in a few months. A week later. Power! Izuku grit his teeth as he let loose another stream of fire towards his opponent with a small percentage of 1 for all infused. When the smoke died down and he heard no noise, he assumed that he had finally won a match. Izuku said. Power! Brew! Izuku went flying into the gym wall, eyes turning into swirls as Mirio stood up from his spot in the ground. Game, set and match, Izubro. And no F affair, you're practically untouchable, Izuku gasped as he gently pried himself from the wall. Ha 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 ha. Not true, Izubro. Despite the control I have on my quirk, one misstep and I'm done for. You've gotten good handling with your quirk as well as being able to combine OFA with it, but it just so happens that I've gotten better, Mirio says smiling, putting a hand out to lift the younger boy. Izuku sighed, not so much sad he lost against his big bro, but a bit disappointed at how far he was from Mirio's level. Looking at the Tin copy, he sees that he never even got a hit on him, while Mirio at least got several on him. However, the smile on Mirio's face helped bring his spirits up, making him forget about his loss. He truly is amazing. He's right, you know. Bar you, Izuku. I don't think I've seen anyone work as hard as Mirio to master their quirk. Just keep training and I'm sure you'll land a hit eventually. Aizawa smirked, entering the conversation. Izuku smiled at Mirio, nodding, a determined glint in his eye. Yeah, you can bet on it. The day before the entrance exam, Nijire had decided to take Izuku out to eat for a special date. Izuku had happily accepted, feeling a day off from all his hectic training was much needed. Isn't this nice, Izukuin, just you and me? And me, Mirio piped in before going back to his food. And me, Tamami whispered before going back to his food. Yeah, and Tamaki and Mirio, out here enjoying the day before your entrance exam. Could you even think of a better date? Izuku couldn't help but laugh at his eccentric girlfriend's question. Is this a date? Mirio and Tamaki didn't even try to hold back their laughter, while Nijire hugged Izuku for being so adorable. Of course, it is Izubro. Just think of Tamaki and I as the chaperones of the date, so we can make sure Nijire doesn't try anything naughty towards you. Mirio joked. What, why me, what about Izuku? Why aren't you protecting my virtue? Nijire whined. Nijire, please. Fine. Day of the entrance exam. Okay, you're sure you have everything? Aizawa asked. Izuku ruffled through his bag, double and triple checking it to make sure he had all his supplies for the test. Yup. Everything I need is here. Mirio and the others helped me pack last night, he smiled. Indeed, we did, Mirio said, popping up from the ground. Jesus Christ. Togata, what the hell did I say about popping up like that? Aizawa yelled. You said that he shouldn't do it and that it scares the hell out of you, Nijire said as she entered the front door. What the? Hado. How the hell did you just come in? The door was locked. Nijire rocked back and forth on her feet, hoping to look innocent before answering. I have a spare key, Aizawa-sensei. At this point, the UA teacher was speechless at his students' actions. Looking around, he noticed one person missing and dreading how he was going to enter. Hado, explain how you have a spare key and why, he sighed. The older girl simply stared at the UA teacher before shrugging. Running a hand down his face, he accepted the answer knowing he wasn't going to get anything else. Fine, whatever. Where's Tamaki and Kendo? Over here, sensei. The boy whispered from his corner. I was with Nijire, but I guess you didn't notice, he said downtrodden. And Kendo headed over to UA because she didn't want to get in trouble with you for breaking in, even though we technically aren't. Nijire scoffed. Oh my god. You know what, I don't have time for this. And Tamaki, I'm sorry I didn't notice you. It's all right. Nijire, return that key before you leave. Maybe. Fine. And Mirio, please stop entering my apartment naked. Of course, sir. Aizawa let out a breath he didn't realizing he was holding after the three teens replied then looked to his son. Izuku, don't you have an entrance exam to get to? Izuku nodded his head vehemently, remembering that he did in fact. Oh, yeah, I almost forgot. And that's why we're here. To remind you, Mirio announced while pulling his pants up. Yeah. And I couldn't let my Izukuin go take a very important test without a good luck kiss, Nijire said, pounding her fist into her hand. I mean, you could, Aizawa mumbled, starting to second guess whether he was ready for fatherhood. I'm here for moral support, Tamaki whispered. Izuku blushed at his friend's actions. Thanks guys, this means a lot. I'll see you after the test is over, okay? Okay babe, but first this. Before he could ask what she was referring to, Nijire quickly pulled him into her arms for a kiss, letting him go when someone cleared their throat. Test now, Aizawa says, rolling his eyes at his son's blushing face. Rewrite, yeah, test. I'll go now. Bye guys. Good luck, Izuku, Tamaki whispered. Remember to use max power, Mirio shouted, stifling his laughter at his lil bro's face. Izuku paused in his steps, turning around with a bright smile. Max power. Turning back to head to his exam. Back at Aizawa's house, Aizawa-sensei. If you're headed to U.2, then why didn't you take Izuku into school? Nijire asked innocently. Tamaki and Mirio waited for their sensei for an answer. When none came, they turned to where he once stood only to see him quickly running outside and jumping into his car. He forgot, the three teens shouted. UA. Izuku had just gotten off the train to U. Dashing towards the school. Checking his Eraserhead-themed watch, he saw he had 20 minutes left until the exam started. Still early enough to find my seat and prepare myself. Izuku glanced around. Move out of the way, Orphan Annie, a familiar voice shouted behind him. Izuku merely turned around, not moving out of the way to greet his, well, not friend exactly. Are you deaf, nerd, or do you want to die? Bakago? Grumbled Izuku as he watched the blonde stop before him. I see your explosive personality is brighter than ever. Yeah, what of it, Deku? He shouted, pausing a moment to speak again. Look, just stay out of my way. Got it, he growled, walking off towards the school entrance. Shaking his head at the mildly creative insult, Izuku took a step forward before tripping over his own foot. Oh no! Using his reflexes that he's honed over the months, he quickly turned his fall into a roll. To come out standing up. Well, that's what he was hoping to do, however midway through his roll he felt his weight disappear. What the? Once his weight was put back, he stood up and looked for whoever was the cause of it. Sorry I used my quirk, said a female voice, but it's bad luck to fall before an exam, right? Right, Izuku chuckled, not wanting to mention he had it under control. Thank you for the he and she's gone. Well, hopefully I see her again so I can thank her properly. Izuku continued his walk into the auditorium looking for his seat. A grimace appeared on his face when he saw just who was sitting next to him. Of all the people to have to sit next to him before one of the biggest tests of his life. Bakago, Orphan Annie. Welcome everyone to my live show, shouted a man with sunglasses and blonde hair, who Izuku has come to know quite well. Smiling, Izuku prepared himself for the next part. Can I get a yeah? Yeah. The entire auditorium stayed silent, staring at the green-haired boy who screamed back at present Mike, some outright laughing at the boy, while others couldn't help but think how brave he was for embarrassing himself. All right, I like you, little listener. I'm rooting for you to pass. Present Mike yelled, unable to hide his giant smile at his nephew. Now that that's done, I will give you a quick explanation of how this exam will take place. Are you ready? Yeah. Again, Izuku couldn't help hiding his enthusiasm and replied to his uncle, only making the pro-hero smile wider, while other students began to laugh at the boy who they taught was just embarrassing himself. That is until they heard the pro-hero's next words. I am loving your enthusiasm, little man. I'll be watching out for you. Now to the instructions. After you're written, you'll all be separated among 4 mock cities which contain robot villains, present Mike explained. Each one contains a value of 1, 2, and 3 points. You all have to destroy as many as possible within the time limit given, and with robots scattered around it makes it even more difficult. Izuku began concocting plan after plan on how best to defeat the most villains. He knew with his quirk this was an easy win, but with the number of participants and the added obstacle of them being scattered, he had to put in account searching for the high-point robots or trying to take down as many one-pointer as he could. As he thought about this, a blue-haired student with glasses pointed out that no explanation or position was shown for the 0-pointer. Moreover, what's with you? Izuku looked up when he saw the boy pointing at him. Yeah, you, curly-haired boy, said the blue-haired boy. You've been nothing but an interruption, constantly yelling. Then you began mumbling. It was quite distracting. If you're only here to play around, then you should leave now. Izuku immediately frowned at the boy. I don't know who you think you are, but you're a bit of a hypocrite, don't you think? The boy gasped at Izuku's words. What? I mean, I only yelled when present Mike asked us to. Then my mumbling only began towards the ending of present Mick's speech. Now you, on the other hand, you jumped up and started yelling at present Mike before he could even finish what he was saying like some elitist. If anyone was an interruption, it was you. Izuku finished. The other boy immediately shut his mouth, before sitting down embarrassed at being told off. Present Mike tried, but utterly failed to hold back his grin at Izuku's words. Nice burn, kid, even if it was against Tensei's younger brother. Well, all right then, now that we've got that settled, to answer your question, Examinee 7111, that's the 0-pointer, mainly made to be a distraction. Don't bother taking it down, as you gain nothing from it, he said. I see. I apologize for the interruption, the boy muttered. No problem. Now onwards to your exam, plus ultra. All right, everyone. After present Mike's speech, they were released to their changing rooms where they could change into their uniforms and equipment, before being divided on several buses that brought them near their assigned site. Wow, everyone is pretty calm, all things considered, thought Izuku as he began readjusting his tracksuit made to handle his high-temperature flames. Looking around, Izuku began to check out his competition. At one point, he saw the girl who had helped him from falling in the front of the entrance. She seemed to be taking deep breaths to help herself calm down. Guess not everyone's that calm. What are you doing? Looking to see who was speaking to him again, Izuku couldn't help rolling his eyes to see the same boy who sought to call him out in the auditorium. As he went to remove the boy's hand from his shoulders, the boy continued to speak. Are you trying to find out who is your weakest competition and sabotage them? So you need to leave. Yui is not for those who are here to tarnish its name. What would your parents think if they dash? Ah! Before the other boy could finish his lecture, Izuku lit his shoulder aflame, angered at his words. Never mention my parents again, understand? He snarled, shocking Ida and the rest of the examinees. Unable to do anything else, the blue-haired boy nodded dumbly, watching the green-haired boy amazingly fly off with the use of his flames. Where is he going? Ida and the others thought, unaware that Present Mike had already started the exam. While everyone else stood back to look at the tower from which Present Mike had screamed, Izuku activated one for all, combining it with his flames, and soared into the city. Angered by the other boy's words, he began to search for any robots to help rid of any anger. Well, what are you waiting for? There's no real-life countdowns. The exam has started, and that boy is already gaining points. Those words were what the other examinees needed to hear to get back into gear and focus on passing the exam. Hurriedly, they enter the fake city only to see almost everything in their path demolished. How'd he do this in 30 seconds? I'm going to become a hero for you, Mom, but to do that I need to get into UE with Mirio. Izuku thought, looking around for more robots to decimate. Judge's room / at the same time. So, that's the infamous Izuku, asked a voice looking at a screen. Seems pretty strong for someone just 15. To his right was Eraserhead, who nodded. He is, but he's still got more to learn. That's why he wants to come here, to get stronger. Ah, look at our little Ragdoll Jr. saving that kid from falling debris. He really is like a pussycat, Midnight cooed. Sitting on the left, a strange white animal looked at All Might in his skinny form. You chose quite the successor, Tashinori. I admit I was skeptical, but seeing him and his actions, he truly is worthy. I know he is, nodded the blonde hero, looking at the screen showing Izuku. Well, the time is almost up, so it's time to start the real test, said another hero before pressing a red button, triggering a small series of explosions in the center of the fake city. Fake city, Izuku's exam site. Izuku had just finished tossing a robot aside with his flames when he felt a tremor come from behind him. Unaware of the falling city buildings coming his way, Izuku went to walk his way towards another part of the exam center. Boom! What the? Izuku turned around to see what that explosion was, only to see a familiar smiling face and a giant fist raised up, shielding him from any more falling cement blocks. Izuku! Rushing towards the taller boy, Itsuka tossed herself towards him. Itsuka! Izuku watched as his best friend ran at him, jumping to his arms wide open. In hindsight, it was probably not a good idea for the two of them to be greeting each other in the middle of the exam, but they had hung around Mirio and the others long enough to lose any common sense. What are the odds we'd have the same mock city? Izuku said happily. Really low, but that's so cool, she said, smiling. Back in the judge's room, Shoyuta. Is your son really? Yes, he sighed. In the middle of the… Again, he sighed. Yeah. While the 0-pointer is heading right for them. Look, you can clearly see all that happening from the cameras, so why are you questioning me? He growled. You know exactly why, Shoyuta. Midnight smirked. Yeah, I do. At Aizawa's house, snooping in Izuku's room, my Izukuin is being an idiot, senses are going off, Nijire gasped. Oh wow, really? 'Cause my Izabro is about to do something really cool, but really dumb senses are going off. Mirio smiled. My Izuku is being reckless, senses are going off, Tamaki whispered. Back at the mock city, Izuku and Kendo were currently running towards the tremors in the middle of the city. Although Kendo had told him it was a stupid idea, she did agree that they should check for anyone injured from falling debris. Achoo! Ah! Shit, Izuku, little warning before you go and shoot flames at me like a goddamn dragon. Kendo yelled, barely jumping away in time and dodging a slew of flames from Izuku's mouth. Izuku looked away, embarrassed, having thought he had gotten control of his flame breathe. Guess not. His thoughts were interrupted by a series of explosions not far away from where they were headed, as well as more yelling. Before any more action could be taken, a loud shadow began to loom over the two friends. A shriek of pain heard not too far from the shadow. Itsuka! Izuku! Itsuka said, teeth gritted as she ran alongside Izuku. Itsuka! Izuku said, slowly stopping. Izuku! Itsuka says, staring Izuku right in the eyes. The intensity of the eye contact was unbearable. For the two, whilst everyone else seemed to be ignoring them in favor of running away, The two oblivious examinees stood in the middle of the street punching each other, debating whether they should follow or run back. Oh wow. My Izuku is going to do something really stupid. Senses are off the radar, Mirio. Nijire gasped. Really? My Izuku's going to do something heroic? But dangerous senses are going crazy, Mirio said. Tamaki sighed. Izuku's gonna hurt himself. Back in the judge's lounge. Your kid is fighting in the middle of the exam. Shoda. Snipe laughed. Yeah. Well, your face. The teachers in the lounge stared at the underground hero speechless. That it, Shoyuta? Nizu chuckled. Shut up. Oh, come on. We were already heading this way. What's stopping us from going on? He yelled. A fucking giant robot, Isuka yelled. Izuku stared back at his best friend, deciding to pull out the big guns. Time for the puppy face. Itsuka watched as Izuku began to pout at her heart constricting as she tried, but failed to look away from the cinnamon roll. God damn it. Fine. Let's head that way. I think I heard something over there. Itsuka yelled, running towards the robot in search of anyone in trouble. God. I hate his puppy dog face. Fist bumping the air, Izuku followed the big fist user, ignoring the other examinees running the other direction. Both examinees neared the giant robot in search of the yell they heard earlier. Both searched frantically, worried they might have shown up too late until they heard someone groaning in pain. Ow! Looking back, both saw a brown-haired girl on the ground with one foot blocked by some rubble. Wait a sec. That's the girl that helped me earlier. Why is she not using her quirk? From what I've seen, she can undo the gravity of the objects she touches. Thought Izuku, then, noticing the sick color of her face. Put two and two together. She must be sick from overuse of her quirk. Really? Well, it looks like she's stuck under rubble. But Izuku, I don't think we'll make it in time to get her out from the rubble and get away, Itsuka said, worried. Looking around at the other examinees, Izuku and Itsuka both saw that none of them had noticed, or rather ignored the girl in trouble, and that they were all running away, including that bespectacled boy. I have an idea, Itsuka, but it relies on you getting to round face and getting as far away as possible. Got it? Itsuka wanted to object to his idea, but once seeing the fire in her best friend's eye, she ignored any part protesting the plan and continued to run towards the other girl. Meanwhile, Izuku activated One for All and, using the highest output he could, soared towards the 0-pointer. During the 10 months of training with All Might, the hero had explained some things about One for All and the attacks that he and some of his predecessors had created. Izuku had not inherited that quirk, but that had not prevented him to take inspiration for a personal attack. When the impact with the robot's head was imminent, Izuku charged his right arm backwards, focusing all the flames in his fist. When Izuku was a few inches from his target, he hit the robot with all his strength, screaming at the top of his lungs, "Powy ear! Power! Oh God! Not another one!" You know, when you look at the kid, you can see some similarities to him, Snipe chuckled. Hey Aizawa, I already know. He sighed. Well done, Midoriya, my boy, All Might screamed internally. You've the mark of a true hero already. Holy shit, that kid's strong. We're way outclassed by him. He totally melted the entire robot. Itsuka watched as her best friend destroyed the 0-pointer with ease. The power behind those flames were intense. If what she was seeing of the melted-down robot was anything to go by, then Izuku was a powerhouse. She knew he was powerful given the nature of his quirk, but when they fought it was always without quirks, so she never really took him serious given he was always on his face. Seeing him use his quirk like that was incredible. Of course, seeing him free fall at over 100 feet was frightening. Izuku! Kendo did her best to run and catch her best friend regardless of whether her hands got burnt. If it helped save him from certain death, then she'd risk a little burn. Itsuka! Gotcha, that was hot. It was a little embarrassing seeing the girl they saved try to save Izuku, only to end up burning her hand. She quickly fell from where she was floating and blew on her hands. Meanwhile, Kendo did her best to catch Izuku with her enlarged hands, wincing in pain when Izuku's entire body fell on top of her. And since the idiot was still on fire, she did indeed end up getting slightly burnt. "Oh man, thanks Kendo, thought I was a goner for a sec," Izuku said happily, not realizing he was suffocating the girl underneath him. "Yasu and Iot Yuku. Oh yeah. I love you too Itsuka," Izuku said as he quickly got up. "Oh man, I really gotta work on my output there. I kinda ran out of steam halfway landing. Good thing you caught me Itsuka." "Indeed. It is. I'm sure your father would be very angry if you ended up getting hurt," Recovery Girl chuckled, showing up to heal the big fist user and round face. That's not what I said, but whatever. Let's go, the exam's over anyways. Your dad probably saw you be an idiot and wants to lecture you," she smirked, once her hands and body were no longer in pain, enjoying the way his face paled at the revelation. "Oh God. Oh wow Izuku-kun. You should really learn restraint," Nijire said as she hugged Izuku's back like a koala. "Indeed Izubro, but your execution was flawless," Mirio says. "Nice job," Tamaki says. Aizawa glares at the three students in his house, eyebrow twitching at the nuisances. "I thought I said to stop entering without asking," he growled. "Oh, but Eraserhead Sensei, we didn't. We used our keys, see," Mirio says as he Nijire and Tamaki simultaneously pull out a replica key. "Who even gave you a key to my place? Ah, don't you have homes of your own to go to?" "Yes. But we want to play with Izuku." "Oh my God, you're giant toddlers, I swear to God. Fine, go. I don't even care at this point." A few hours later, after the big three toddlers have left. "Alright then, now that we're Alodash," Aizawa stopped what he was saying to look around and search his place. Satisfied that no one was still lurking in his house, he continued. "Now that we're alone, I want to talk to you about your performance at the entrance exam." Izuku pulled at his collar, nervously. He knew that he was a bit reckless during the test, but he wasn't sure it was to the point he needed to get scolded for it. Well then again, that was his opinion about the matter. If he was watching from the judge's room, he would have seen how much danger he put himself in. "That's exactly right, you put yourself in a lot of danger by overdoing it," Aizawa smirked, having heard Izuku analyze his own performance at the exam. "Look, you did well overall and gained a lot of points. You were kind of reckless when you began to fight with Kendo, but still." Izuku smiled at his parental figure, happy at his praise. That smile immediately disappeared when Aizawa continued with his lecture. "However, my biggest concern is the fact you could have gotten in a lot of trouble had you not had Kendo there to help soften your fall. You ended up injuring her by burning her hands because you went all out when you didn't need to. You need to think about those around you and yourself next time." "Got it." Izuku nodded his head. He couldn't help but agree with his dad's assessment of his performance. "Yeah. I promise. I won't go overboard anymore unless needed." Aizawa smiled at his son. "Good." A week later, "Why are you so nervous, Izuku-kun? From what Aizawa-sensei said, you did great," Nijire said while hugging her boyfriend closer to her as they headed to the cat cafe for lunch. Izuku blushed at the feel of Nijire's chest being pressed into him. "She's like a koala." I mean I'm just worried about my overall PAM performance," Izuku stuttered out, barely able to focus with the distraction on his back. It seems that despite him getting used to Nijire's mannerisms, he was still in awe of the fact someone of Nijire's stature would even consider dating him. "Ah, don't worry, I bet you passed with flying colors," Nijire cooed, hugging the boy tighter. "She's doing this on purpose, I just know it." "Nijire, I love you. I really do. But do I have to carry you on my back? It's really distracting when we talk." "What? My little Izuku-kun declaring his love for me so callously? I refuse your love." "Wait, what? That had nothing to do with the question. You can't just say you love me so casually, Izuku-kun. You need to make it spontaneous and exciting like our relationship. Therefore, I refuse your current love declaration." "Seriously?" He sweat dropped. Nijire nodded her head, looking away from the boy. Izuku stopped walking to look at Nijire. He saw the look on her face which told him that yes, she was indeed serious. A small smile appeared on his face at his dramatic girlfriend before rolling his eyes and deciding he was most likely going to regret whatever was about to happen next. Setting his girlfriend down, he asks her what he can do to change that. Grand gesture. Izukun. Wah. Declare your love for me with a grand gesture. Nijire smiled, twirling in the air with her quirk. By now a crowd was forming around the two, many wanting to know what such a plain boy was doing with a hot girl. Meanwhile, Izuku stood stock still staring at his girlfriend, wondering if she was indeed serious. The mischievous look in her deep blue eyes told him that she wanted a grand gesture of him declaring his love. Right here, right now. Ugh, fine. Give me a few minutes, babe, Izuku chuckled. Grabbing his phone from his pocket, he makes a quick call and a text before putting it in his back pocket. Tamaki Kendo, it's time. Get the markers and poster paper out. Mirio ordered. Got it? And they're scented too. Tamaki whispered. Oh, you splurger, you. I couldn't find poster paper, but I do have this white sheet. Kendo cringed as she brought out a white bed sheet. It'll do, Mirio said happily. Tashinori, just where do you think you're going? You still have a mountain of papers to sign. Nizu questioned. I know, but I have an important matter to take care of. It'll only be a few minutes. Izuku was on the edge of the curb, bending on one knee, the crowd gasping at what the young boy was doing. Smiling up at the older girl, he held both her hands, enjoying as she tried to hold back her laughter at how far Izuku was going for the grand gesture. I am very bad at reading when a girl likes me, and I have no good flirting skills. I know, Izukun. The crowd immediately laughing at the boy's speech. Ignoring them, he continues, focusing solely on his girlfriend. But even still, before we started dating, you made sure no girl ever got close enough to give me their numbers, constantly coming up with outrageous things to scare them off, Kendo being the exception. The crowd surrounding them erupted in laughter while filming what was happening. No one sure what the heck was going on exactly, but finding it funny. Nonetheless, Izuku smiling alongside them. I still remember the poor Yaoyorozu's heiress face when you offered her to be part of my harem. I don't remember that. Nijire butt in. Sure you don't. Izuku countered, smirking. But then again, if you didn't, Mirio wouldn't have gotten the chance to be our wingman and get us together. Nijire, compared to you, I am a lowly hobbit. Unworthy of being in your presence. The surrounding crowd agreeing at the boy's assessment of himself compared to the girl. Again annoying him, even Nijire was nodding her head jokingly. Nijire Hadu, you've made me so happy. So I just have one thing to say to you. Yes. Now. Izuku yelled into his phone. Ahahaha. To young love. Those on the ground looked up at the voice, instantly recognizing All Might's voice, surprised at the sight above them. Currently soaring through the sky was All Might holding crudely made flag, sheet thing with the inscription, Izubro loves Nijire. I love you. He finished with a goofy smile. Nijire gasped at the number one hero flying or jumping over them with a sign saying her Izuku loves her. She honestly wasn't expecting Izuku to come up with anything so crazy in such little time. Leave it to her boyfriend to surprise her. I love you too, my little Izukun, and I accept your declaration of love. Izuku let out a breath of relief, causing the crowd around them to laugh. Oh, thank God, because Oh, Mirio, Tamaki and Itsuka so much for coming up with that banner in so little time. Meanwhile, the crowd of civilians surrounding Izuku and Nijire were still in disbelief. A kid had the number one hero just assist him in a romantic gesture. When they finally uncovered from the shock and went to ask how he knew the hero, they saw the young couple gone. Nijire, yes, my little Izukun? How did me asking you why you have to always ride on my back end up me having to do a giant declaration of love to you? Nijire stayed quiet while she rode on Izuku's back, hoping he would forget about the question. As it turns out, he wouldn't. Neire? Oh wow, is it me or is this cafe a long walk? She asked. Well, yeah. Seems like it when you have an extra person on your back. Pfft, you can't tell me you don't like it, Izukun, she whispered into his ear. Izuku closed his mouth and thought, well, I don't hate it, but do you have to hold me so tightly? It's a little hard to concentrate when your assets are rubbing on my back. I swear I won't drop you, Izuku hurriedly finished. Nope, I can't take those chances. Besides, you wouldn't want me to get tired while on our walk, so then I can't listen to you talk, do you? She asked. Well, I guess that wait a second, you totally just avoided my original question. The passenger on his back merely snuggled closer into him laughing. Indeed, I did, my little hobbit. Damn she-devil. Izuku grumbled, not at all mad at his girlfriend, smiling as they continued their date. But back to our original topic. Why are you so nervous about the exam? You probably got first place. Izuku sighed, shrugging his shoulder. I don't know. I guess it's just because I hadn't heard from All Might about the exam, and what if there's a deduction system, so me messing up that rescue got a bunch of points deducted. Plus, I fought with Kendo in the middle of the battle, so that could have messed you. Nijire knew a Midoriya mumbling session when she heard one and knew there was usually only one way to stop it. Well, there was numerous ways, but her way was much more fun. Tilting her boyfriend's head to the side, so it was more accessible. She covered his lips, sensing more than seeing the small smile that was creeping onto Izuku's face. And plus, there's pitch. Izuku's mumbling was interrupted by the feeling of soft lips over his. Nijire disconnecting a few seconds later, a smile on her face. Izuku huffed, red-faced, a small but noticeable smile. Do you always have to do that to make me stop mumbling? No. But I enjoy it a lot more than just telling you to stop. Don't you? She asked. Well, yeah. He answered, to the amusement of his girlfriend. After their conversation, Izuku was intent on getting to their destination without any more embarrassing things happening to him. In the end, he found that hard to do when said person was on your back, jumping up and down, pointing out everything that fascinated her. She's trying to kill me. I just know it. That night, mind explaining what this is about? Aizawa said to the teens in front of him. In his hands was a video of his adopted son proclaiming his love to his older girlfriend with the help of their beef-headed symbol of peace. And where the hell did you find the time to make that sign? Izuku and Nijire both sat on the couch in front of Izuku's parental figure, extremely red-faced. Izuku knew they were being watched during his speech but recorded. Well, he didn't know people were that interested in his speech. Oh God, people caught me on tape calling myself a lowly hobbit. Aizawa-sensei, I'm so sorry, but Izuku declared his love while we were walking, and I told him that I wanted a grand gesture instead of him saying it so casually, so then he made a phone call, and at the time I didn't know who he had called, but obviously it was to All Might and Mirio. Which, when you think about it, is amazing because it only took about 5 minutes for everything to be. Nijire stopped mid-speech when Aizawa raised his hand up. The deadpanned look on his face indicated he wasn't surprised his son pulled something like this off. He pinched the brim of his nose, then looked at the two teens in front of him. Just please. No more crazy gestures like that. I'm not sure that's possible seeing as our anniversary is Komi. Nijire froze up at the stare she was receiving from the pro-hero in front of her. No. More. Crazy. Gestures. Yes, sensei. Got it, dad. Aizawa froze mid-glare at the teen in front of him. That was probably the first time Izuku called him dad. And granted, it was after he gave him a scolding, it still warmed his heart. He wasn't sure if he should address it or not, so he let it go for now. Hopefully this meant he was becoming more used to the idea of him being his father. Yeah, fine, whatever, you can go play with Mirio and Tamaki now. They've been hiding in your room. Yes. Oh, and before I forget, your letter from you, Dada, came today. Aizawa said, hiding his smile from his son. He already knew the results and what class he would be in, but Izuku didn't need to know that. Izuku was unable to read the expression on his dad's face, so he was unsure if he knew if he had passed or not. Once he caught the envelope in Aizawa's hands, he couldn't help but snatch it and run to his room, his girlfriend on his heels. Wait for me, Izuku-in. Kids. He chuckled. Izuku darted into his room, Nijire on his heels. Inside, he was waiting for him with bright smiles on. Their faces were Mirio and Tamaki. Well, Mirio had a bright smile. Tamaki had more of a, this is the best you're gonna get from me, grimace smile. From the look on their faces, they also knew about him receiving his results today. He couldn't hide how nervous he was as he held up his letter and showed it to his big brothers. The two senpais looked to each other excitedly. Again, one was excited, the other seemed nervous. But both still managed to shout in unison, "Result time! Open it, Izuku-en! Open it! Let's find out if you passed or failed miserably." "Nijire," Izuku said, horrified. He couldn't help but look at the envelope in betrayal, wondering if all that training he did with Mirio was all for naught. "Nijire, not funny." Mirio chuckled, bopping the hyper girl on the head. "Oh, come on. I doubt my little beefcake would fail after training for so long, and alongside you two." "Boot," the older girl said, hugging Izuku in hopes it would encourage the cinnamon roll to open it. "I mean, at worst he just got put in general ed and he'll have to—" "Okay, Nijire, maybe just let Izubro open the letter already before he has a heart attack," Mirio says awkwardly, as he looks to the younger boy bent over, breathing heavily. "I've let All Might down. I've let Mirio down, my mom, Dadzawa." "Do you think I went overboard?" Nijire asks, biting her lip. "A tad." Tamaki answers. After Izuku's short and brief mental breakdown, the three older teens had finally gotten the boy to calm down and finally open his U.A letter. Well, technically Mirio had to do it because Izuku wouldn't let Nijire stop holding him, which she wasn't complaining about. "Ready, everyone?" The four occupants in the room looked to each other before nodding and looking to see what their dear Izuku's results were. To no one's but Izuku's surprise, instead of a letter, the envelope released a metal disc. The second Mirio touched it, a square-shaped beam of light shot out from the top and into the air. "Hello, I am here as a projection," said the familiar voice of All Might, paired with his image. "Did All Might think we wouldn't know that?" Nijire asked Mirio. The older boy simply chuckled, shrugging at the symbol of peace antics. "All Might," Midoriya shouted, jumping from his girlfriend's arms to her dismay. "This is from UA. Isn't it? All Might is delivering my results. This might come as a shock to you, but starting this spring, I'll be teaching hero training at UA." Midoriya felt another wave of shock. Joining him in his shock were the other occupants in the room. Hearing that the number one hero was going to be one of their teachers was exciting. "Whoa, All Might's going to be a teacher. Do you think it's to keep an eye on Izuku-en?" Nijire asked. "If I had to guess, then that would be the most logical reason." Tamaki whispered. "Izuku, we're going to be taught by our idol," Mirio shouted, swinging Izuku around. The two All Might fans were completely ignoring their friends as well as the hologram projection to jump around in a circle like the two fanboys they were. "This is so cool," Izuku shouted equally as loud. It wasn't until they heard All Might continue speaking that they went back to paying attention, momentarily forgetting that Izuku had not even gotten his results yet. "What's that? Get on with it already? Save the personal stuff for later when we have dinner with Aizawa tomorrow? Can't we spare a few minutes to praise Midoriya Shonen?" Fine, I got it, geez." The three teens didn't even try to hold in their laughter at All Might's banter with whomever was behind the camera. "As the newest teacher, I've been tasked with informing all applicants of their test results. You performed remarkably well on the written exam, landing in the top 10. Mirio, Tamaki, and Nijire gave a round of applause for their resident cinnamon roll. As for the practical, well, let's just say you and Kendo made this year's exam quite amusing. Watching Kendo jump into your arms for a hug in the middle of the exam was adorable, and then seeing you two scuffles over whatever you two couldn't agree on was quite amusing. Factoring in your display of power by destroying the zero-pointer only to fall straight into her hands while on fire was also quite the sight." All Might bellowed from the projection. Sadly, Izuku knew this was going to happen. He knew everything he did was probably going to affect his score. He only hoped he didn't ruin Kendo's chance to get in. She at least deserved to go to UA. "Yes, definitely not safe stuff to do during an exam, my boy. Make an impression, yes, but not safe. Not to worry though, because despite all your recklessness you still had more than enough points to pass." All Might cheered. Izuku perked up at hearing these words. Nijire, Mirio, and Tamaki shooting grins at the younger boy. Not only did you rack up over 70 villain points, but along with the hidden rescue points you received saving a few other examinees from falling debris and young Uraraka from the zero-pointer, you earned an additional 60 points. Wait, Izuku said. So that means what All Might's saying is dash. Midoriya, my boy, for your acts of heroicness and combat prowess, you earned a total of 130 points overall. Not only did you pass with flying colors, but you received first place on the exam. Congratulations, my boy. Oh my god. You guys, can you believe it? I got in and got first place. Izuku cried. Well duh, we knew you would, Mirio scoffed, a smile on his face. Only the best for my little Izuku, and Nijire said, kissing the boy unabashedly and short-circuiting the boy momentarily. Knew you could do it, Tamaki said. Oh, but the judges still felt we should deduct a few points for recklessness, but not to worry, you still made a good 98 points. More than good enough to still pass, my boy. The 4 teens couldn't help but blanch at the hero's words. Why he didn't mention that in the first place, they'll never understand. Anyway, you're officially a student of UA High, my boy. Welcome to your hero academia. The hologram shut off immediately after those words. The 4 teens staring at each other momentarily before laughing at Izuku. The green bean didn't mind how ridiculous he looked, jumping up in the air and releasing a yell of triumph. There was nothing else to him that could be more appropriate for what he achieved. Despite getting deducted points, after hearing All Might's words, he felt like he was walking on cloud 9. He was finally going to meet Mirio at their dream school and fulfill his promise to him and his mom. All the training they had been doing for years was finally going to pay off. See, Izuku-in, we told you not to worry. You got in and got first place on the exam. Nijire cheered, holding the boy tight. Mirio fist pumped next to the girl. Yeah, Izu bro. I mean, sure, you got deducted a few points for being reckless, but then again, that's probably our fault for being a bad influence, he laughed. And look, you got Aizawa-sensei as your homeroom teacher, Tamaki pointed out. Izuku's face brightened at hearing who his homeroom teacher was. Immediately a thought hit him, reminding him to text his kendo and see what class she had gotten into. I got into 1A. Kendo answers. Me too. Izuku replies happily, relaying to his friends that he would be classmates with Kendo. Points deducted though, cause your dumbass. Well, thanks for that. Kendo replies, you jumped into my arms for a hug, but if it makes you feel better, so did I. Okay, that kinda makes me feel better. She got points deducted too, but she still passed. Izuku laughed. Only fair they do it to the other numbskull. Nijire giggled. Game night, you come to consciousness. Your eyes open, and there's an immediate numb feeling in your arms. You glance at them, but you're not laying on your back. You're chained up. Your body slumps forward with a fierce, but not unwelcoming, pain in your shoulders. Chains clamped around your wrists. You look down. Your legs are also chained, not together, but to a wall in a room you don't recognize. Panic. Whoa. Are you DMing a scenario for us? Or are you reciting a fantasy to Izubro? Nijire? Mirio questions, eyebrow arched. Nijire stared at her longtime friend, speechless, a deep blush appearing on her face. Mirio turns to Izuku, who seems to be in the same boat, trying to hide behind his wizard cloak. Miri bro, what the hell? He yells. What? I'm just saying this seems a little too kinky for Dungeons and Dragons and seems more like something Nijire might be into. She was a very convincing midnight, if you don't recall. He chuckled. Usually Mirio wasn't this into teasing, but he wanted to be the DM for Dungeons and Dragons, and he was willing to get the position by any means necessary. Mirio, I would end this ISN, this is one of... I don't want to be DM anymore. Nijire shouted. Oh well, what can you do? Mirio gasped. I guess I'll have to take over. Jerk. She mumbled, grabbing a paper and creating her own character. Once she's finished, Izuku gets a chill down his spine at the mischievous glint in his girlfriend's eye. I'm gonna be the Wood Elf Ranger and seduce Izukuin's drow rogue. Roll a 15 and I'll allow it. Anything lower and Izuku tells everyone at the local tavern you're a lousy kisser. Mirio says, eyeing the game board. Lies. Nijire glares. It's not even her turn, Izuku yelled, blushing. Oh? So, you don't mind if I seduce you during my turn, Izukuin? Nijire says in a sing-song voice. What? No. I mean, yes. I mean, we're supposed to be fighting a man eating… Nijire? Mirio snickers. Mirio! Nijire gasps. I just want to get through the forest of devastation. Tamaki sighs. Do we really have to wear these costumes? Kendo asks, decked out in a cleric cloak, trying her best to ignore the perverted conversation currently happening. As they continued to bicker over how to continue the game, Izuku's phone pinged with a message for him. Meet me at Dagoba Beach tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Okay. And before you ask, yes, you can bring Mirio and the others. I wasn't gonna ask that. Sure, you weren't. All Might wants to see me at the beach tomorrow, Izuku says, finally able to speak after recovering from that embarrassing debacle with Mirio and Nijire. Nijire pauses her role and turns to her boyfriend, a question on her lips. However, before she can even ask, he answers. He said I can bring you guys, Izuku says, as if he could read her mind. Yay! Beach day tomorrow. Mirio and the others shout. Ha 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 ha. Midoriya shonen. You were quite enjoyable to watch. Midoriya had the decency to look embarrassed after discussing with All Might his performance at the entrance exam. Despite the symbol of peace enjoying how his successor had performed, he admitted that he did go a bit overboard with the zero-pointer. Yeah. Dadzawa told me the same. Izuku chuckles nervously. So, All Might held his hand up to the broccoli-haired boy, smiling. Don't worry, that's why you're going to to learn from your mistakes. And to join Mirio, of course, he said, smiling at the older boy who was building a sandcastle with his other friends. Izuku was happy that he and Kendo didn't get in trouble for how they had acted at the entrance exam. Thanks, All Might. I can't wait to start with Mirio, Nijire, and Tamaki. I've waited a long time for this. That's exactly what I wanted to hear from my successor, All Might announced. So have we, Izubro, Mirio yelled, tackling the younger boy. Indeed, we have my Izukuin, Nijire says, tackling Mirio, who was already on top of Izuku. Yes, we have, Tamaki says, standing on the side. Ha ha ha, what a family you have. When Izuku woke up, he was prepared to ready himself for his first day of high school alone, as he usually did. Dadzawa, as he had taken to calling his adopted father, had said he had to be at U.A early to prepare for their class, thus leaving Izuku alone for his first day of high school. For some reason, though, today seemed a bit more nostalgic than most other days when he was preparing himself for school. Izuku halted getting dressed to look at one of the only pictures he had of him and his mother and realized that was it. That's why he was feeling empty today. The first day of learning how to be a hero, and the most important person in his life wasn't here to witness it. Mom, I made it to U.A just like I promised. I'm gonna be a hero and save as many people as I can, just like I promised I would. I just wish you were here to see me become a hero with Mirio, his voice cracking near the end of his talk. Hugging the frame close to his chest, the green-haired boy clenched his fist to hold back the tears, readying himself for school. He began adjusting his tie that he knew was in no way correctly tied and put his jacket on before leaving his room to make himself breakfast. Well, better hurry up and make something for Dadzawa, Mirio looking to the other occupants in the room. Nijire, Tamaki, Itsuka. What are you guys doing here? Ahem. Well, I may not have much experience with children, but I think seeing my son off to his first day of high school is a pretty big thing to witness. Right? Aizawa coughed. Indeed, Aizawa-sensei. And we are here to escort our little Izuku into school and make sure he makes it to school safely. Correct, Nijire. We must make sure Izubro gets to class on time, with no problems. Mirio salutes. I'm here for moral support, Tamaki whispers. They dragged me here while I was walking to school and said to join them since we were heading to the same place, so. Yeah, Kendo shrugged, not at all bothered that she was basically kidnapped. Izuku was already emotional because of his mom, but the support of having his friends and Dadzawa by his side only caused the tears he tried to hide break through the floodgates. "You guys, Tage, thank you. This means a lot," he cried. The surrounding teens and one adult stood with small smiles on their face before Nijire glomped him, unable to hold back wanting to make her Izuku happy again. "Of course, Izuku. We would do anything to make you happy," she shouted. Mirio and the others joined the hug in agreement. As it were, when they all finished their breakfast, the kids decided to go their separate ways and let the homeroom teacher drive to school while they walked. "So, you guys are considered the big three, huh?" Kendo asked. "Izuku told me you were strong, but overall top 3 in the school is pretty crazy." Mirio opened his mouth to reply before he was beat by Nijire. "Oh well, it was actually kinda surprising for us, you know. See, we weren't always this strong. Since our first year we were at the bottom of the food chain. We've never even won the sports festival." The look of surprise on Kendo's face at Nijire's words were quite hilarious to the 4 friends. "Wait, are you serious? But then how would—" "And everyone still. You're still considered the top 3 students in all of Udate," Kendo exclaims, pointing to Nijire, Mirio, and a sheepish Tamaki. Nijire and Mirio looked to each other, back to Kendo nodding. However, before they could say anything else, Izuku spoke up. "Kendo, their performance may not have been notable or even that impressive during the festival, but trust me, Mirio, Nijire, and Tamaki deserve this title." The green-haired high schooler looked to his best friends, fist clenched. "I've trained with Mirio for years, and his quirk is more than enough to make him one of the top pro heroes." Kendo couldn't help but gape at her best friend, while the older teens smiled at their cinnamon roll for thinking so highly of them. "Nijire, she may be my girlfriend, so you probably think I'm being biased when I tell you how powerful she is, but you didn't really know her when we first met. Back then she could only shoot 2 air blasts before tiring herself out. Now she doesn't even have to think about flying while attacking." Finally turning to Tamaki. "And Tamaki. He's gone from only being able to transform from one animal at a time to numerous ones depending on what he eats. He's amazing." The girl was wide-eyed as she listened to Izuku describe each one's growth. "You probably think I'm some powerhouse after seeing me destroy the 0-pointer during the exam, right? Well, that's hardly the case when compared to these guys. I'm nowhere near their level," Izuku says with a giant smile on his face. She's surprised at how happy he sounds while admitting such a thing, but as she watches how the other 3 look back at him, fond looks on their faces, she realizes to him it doesn't matter if he's not as strong as the others right now. So long as he gets to stand by their side, then that's enough for him. "Oh, Izuku, you flatterer you," Nijire shouts, jumping to hug the cinnamon roll. "We love you too, Izubro," Mirio cries, joining Nijire in her hug. "BFFs forever, Izuku," Tamaki whispers, slinking in to join the group hug. "They're such a weird group of friends," Kendo chuckles. Katsuki Bakugo was not having a good fucking week. Not only did he get 2nd place in the entrance exam for UA, but as it turns out, 1st place went to the orphan nerd who wasn't even supposed to have a fucking quirk. First, he was lied to by the nerd about not having a quirk. Then he had the gall to upstage him at the school of his dreams. This was not how Bakugo was expecting to enter high school. The nerve of that extra. Bakugo purposely ignored that tiny voice in the back of his head that kept saying the Deku never lied but did in fact admit to having a quirk numerous times. Damn Deku. What loser keeps a promise even after the person they promised it to die? Not like they'll ever find out if you fucking broke the promise. TCH. I was supposed to be the one with the great origin story, Deku, and you've ruined that. He was supposed to show everyone he could be number 1 despite the shitty background he had growing up. He was supposed to rise from the ashes and prove how awesome he was. He realized the irony in his statement after he thought about it. Compared to Deku's shitty life, his was perfect, but a hero who had no problems getting to the top spot wasn't all that interesting. Gah! How the hell did that nerd even get that quirk? His MOM had telekinesis and Dad supposedly breathes fucking fire. Then again, Bakugo could see how the 2 quirks would have combined to make such a powerful quirk, but immediately shook the thought of Deku having a cool quirk from his head. All this was running through Bakugo's head as he made his way onto UA's school ground, scowl on his face, practically warding anyone from crossing his path. Once he found Class 1A, he began to survey his competition, quickly deeming none a clear threat. Bakugo didn't even try to hide his scoff at all the cannon fodder surrounding him. Deciding to sit down after analyzing his classmates, lazily sitting at a random desk, with his feet up as he waited for the teacher. Extras, every one of them. At least I don't see the orphan. Probably got the reject class, he snickered. Bakugo's inner monologue was soon interrupted by a boy with glasses, which as you can imagine did not make him very happy. And so, began Bakugo's first day at UA, without Deku thankfully. Or so he thought. Back to our main band of misfits. Look, my sweet little Izukuin, we've made it to your class, Nijire shouted, pointing ahead. And annoyed, he wasn't, Izuku huffed at his girlfriend, who had somehow managed to climb onto his back midway to UA, allowing her to be carried to school. When did she even get on my back, and how did I not notice? Izuku thought, still trying to figure out how his girlfriend was able to latch onto him like a koala without him knowing. That's all fine and dandy, but can you explain why I'm carrying you there? We want to meet your classmates, Izubro, Mirio explained, chuckling at his little bro and his girlfriend's antics. We need to make sure they know not to mess with you, Tamaki whispered, surprising the others. Tich, that doesn't answer my question as to why I'm carrying Nijire, he sweat dropped, looking to Kendo. What's the worst that can happen, Izuku? Kendo shrugs, already imagining the many scenarios in her head. That still doesn't answer my question, he sighed. Figuring he wasn't going to get an answer from them anytime soon, Izuku threw caution to the wind, deciding to forget about his koala girlfriend and allowed his best friends to come with him and meet his classmates. Onwards then, the three older students yelled, purposely ignoring their green-haired fellow. The only seemingly sane one of the groups shook her head, looking at her poor friend as he shifted his girlfriend around on his back for a better grip. As the 5 students made their way to 1A, Izuku had decided to pause, allowing Kendo to go on ahead. The martial artist understood her best friend's reason for wanting a moment alone. Kendo made sure to squeeze his shoulder in reassurance as she passed by, shooting a smile as well before entering and finding her seat. As she enters her classroom for the next 3 years, Kendo can't help but feel her smile turn into a grimace at the sight of an angry blonde arguing with a boy with glasses. Unbeknownst to her, the blonde had been the boy who had constantly bullied Izuku in the past. Geez, someone needs a chill pill, Kendo muttered, as she passed by the 2 arguing boys unnoticed to greet her classmates in the back. Back outside, Mirio and Izuku stood side by side, today marking the beginning of Izuku's journey to be a hero alongside Mirio. Izuku was the first to turn to Mirio, fist held out for a long-awaited fist bump in celebration of their achievement. Mirio held a bright smile on his face as his fist met Izuku's, both making a silent vow to continue to do their best until they become number 1. Well, number 1 and 2. For once, Nijire was quiet, enjoying the sweet scene occurring between her boyfriend and best friend. Tamaki, despite being his usual quiet self, was also happy for Mirio and Izuku. We did it, Miribro, Izuku says. The youngest of the group broke out his signature blinding smile as he thought about the time he'd be spending at UA. He couldn't help but clutch his chest as he thought about the fact it'll be alongside Mirio and the others. Of course, we did Izu-dash. Before Mirio could finish what he had planned on saying, an explosive voice interrupted the 2, slightly irritating Mirio and annoying Izuku, both already knowing who exactly that loud voice belonged to. Nijire and Tamaki were just mad at the sweet moment being interrupted. Hey, you're kidding me, right? Your old school stuck a stick up your nerdy ass? Or were you born with it? Let us start over. I am Tenya Ida from Semi-Private Academy, Ida announced while holding out his hand for a handshake he'll never receive. Ah, Semi-ha. So you're just a bitch-ass elitist then? I'll have fun killing you then. You damn side character. Bakugo snapped back with a smirk. K-kill. And such vulgar language. Are you sure you want to be a hero? Ida asked, incredibly shocked that a classmate would threaten to kill him. Bakugo was about to spew another insult, that is until he noticed Izuku in the doorway with what he thought was a cocky look in his eyes, but really was just annoyance. Deku, Bakugo growled, standing up to go towards the boy before noticing who else was at the door with him. While he was angry at Deku for showing up at the same class at him, his self-imposed bodyguards scared him more, though he would never admit that. Bakugo, Izuku drawled. Oh, ho ho. Look, Tamaki, our Izaburo is classmates with Bakugo. How fun. Mirio said with a smile that Bakugo recognized as threatening. Very fun, Tamaki whispered from his corner. Once Bakugo saw the three older teens, he knew he'd have to go after Deku when they weren't around. Especially his damn girlfriend. Suddenly, as though she knew what he was thinking, a shiver went down his back as he looked to the blue-haired girl who was smiling at him with such killing intent. A slight sheen of sweat ran down his face as he knew exactly what she was insinuating. I'll hurt you tenfold if you touch my Izukuin. Trying to maintain his big dog act, he clicked his tongue, looking away. Whatever, Deku. The five-student showdown was baffling to everyone in class except said five. Who the hell are these kids? They all thought. Once done addressing Bakugo, Izuku began to look around at his classmates to see who he would be sharing his time with for the next 3 years. He saw Kendo already sitting down speaking to someone with a giant tail, a girl with long earlobes. Next was a pink girl, a guy with red spiky hair, an invisible girl, a girl with a spiky ponytail staring wide-eyed at him, a bird head, a spiky ponytail. Izuku turned his head back to the girl who was staring back at him and immediately recalled who exactly he was looking at. Oh my god, Yaoyorozu, he thought. Hey Izukuin, what are you looking at? Checking out pretty girls already? Not gonna cheat on me, are ya? It's barely been 5 minutes and you're already looking for a new girlfriend. Nijire pouted. Izubro, how dare you do that to our Nijire? For shame, Mirio shouted, aware and enjoying the attention he was drawing to themselves. Shame, 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 Tamaki whispered. What? No, that's not it, I swear. I was just checking out all my classmates. Wait, not like checking them out like for new prospects, but as in I. As soon as the words came out of his mouth, he knew he was done for. Crocodile tears began falling from his over-dramatic girlfriend's face as she fell backwards into Mirio's arms. Oh, woe is me. My life is a misery. Did you really just quote that musical we watched last night? Izuku deadpanned. That doesn't even go with what's going on right now. Oh wait, I got it. You do want a harem after all, Nijire said, perking up. That's not it at all. Momo Yaoyorozu, recommended student for UA, didn't even try to hold back the gasp at hearing the words said by the girl hugging the green-haired boy she had met 2 summers ago. He did want me to join his harem. While the 4 misfits were continuing their act, while 3, Izuku was still trying to stop his girlfriend from causing an even bigger scene. The entire class continued to watch what was going on, a myriad of emotions running through their bodies as they watched the scene in front of them. The most obvious of emotions were confusion on how a plain-looking boy could be dating such a hot girl. Excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt whatever you guys are doing, but I just wanted to say thank you for saving me during the entrance exam, a round-faced girl said shyly. Turning to the voice, Izuku and Mirio untangled themselves from the wrestling pile they had somehow entered, while Nijire paused in her cheering, to stand back up and speak to the girl. Oh, no problem, but I mean I didn't do all the work. Itsuka helped too, Izuku said sheepishly, pointing to the back where Kendo currently was arm wrestling the boy with the large tail. You're welcome, she shouted. Yeah, but I mean the way you took down the robot was amazing. You just shot up to the robot with your flames and then was like powy ear. Izuku was a blushing mess by the time the girl had finished recounting how he had defeated the robot, while Mirio and the others stood behind him proudly. While Mirio and Tamaki were, Nijire had gone back to clutching onto Izuku tightly, the next words out of her mouth causing Izuku to almost short-circuit. Well then Nijire paused in her words, waiting for the girl to introduce herself. Oh, Uraraka Okaka, the round-faced girl quickly answers. Well, Uraraka, care to join our harem dash? Nijire asked jokingly. What? She yelled. Eh? The entire class yelled. I knew it. Yairozu yelled. Nijire, please, Izuku cried. Nijire, Mirio, Tamaki. Leave now. These kids aren't here to socialize or watch you harass Izuku. A sudden voice that popped out of nowhere made everybody, but the three older students who didn't, seem fazed by the stern voice. Quiet. Everyone looked to the direction of which the voice came from, only to see a hobo-looking man inside a sleeping bag. The man looked like he lacked a serious amount of sleep. But sensei, the three whined. Go. But my Izukuin, Nijire whined. We'll be fine. Now go. Yes, sir. Hurriedly the three ran out of the room, Nijire reappearing to give Izuku a quick kiss and a wink to everyone in the room. Good luck, everyone. Her ominous comment frightened everyone, since they were unsure what she was wishing them good luck, for they quickly began to panic. They were brought out of their panicking from the sleep-deprived man who couldn't help but groan as he got out of his sleeping bag. I am your homeroom teacher, Shota Aizawa. Put these on and go outside to the testing field. You're all going to have a quirk assessment test, Aizawa stated with an uninterested tone while holding a P.E uniform. Much of the class groaned at the fact they were having a test on the first day. But Aizawa-sensei, what about orientation? Uraraka asked their homeroom teacher. You all want to be heroes, don't you? We don't have time for such useless things. Here at AS teachers are given the luxury to run our classes the way we see fit, said Aizawa as he sipped juice from a small little juice box. All those in class stared at the man intimidated. That is but one broccoli-haired boy who had all but one thought. He's so cool. The class, once done changing and finding their way to the field for the assessment test, walked outside to meet up with Aizawa, who once again looked disappointed. Geez, you kids are slow. Took you all at least 10 minutes to get here. Next time follow Izuku's example and get here in 5-inch. Aizawa sighed, shaking his head. The entire class looking to their left to see the broccoli-haired boy casually stretching. When the tall boy noticed that he was being watched, he waved hello to them all, oblivious to the glares he was receiving from a select few. So, as I said before, we will be having a quirk assessment test. You all have had these types of physical tests before in junior high, but they didn't let you use your quirks for them. You'll be having physical tests here, but now you're all allowed to use your quirks, Aizawa explained. Aizawa grabbed a softball and turned to Bakugo. Bakugo, what was the farthest you could throw a softball in middle school? Aizawa asked. 68 meters, he recalled. This time when you throw, use your quirk in any way you want and don't hold back, Aizawa said before throwing the ball at him. Go stand over in the circle and do whatever so long as you don't leave the circle. You asked for it. Daiai, he yelled. Everyone stared in awe at the huge explosion that had occurred to shoot the ball into the air. Izuku thought. 765 meters. This is how UA will get you to reach your limits. Oh, this looks like fun. I want to go next, a girl with horns, pink hair and skin said happily, catching Aizawa's attention. Izuku, however, instantly cringed at hearing the girl's words. Oh. Fun, you say? Okay. Then let's up the stakes if that's the case. The person with the lowest score on this test will be expelled. Aizawa blankly said. Everyone but the Yaoyorozu heiress, Bakugo and Todoroki became nervous. The two recommended students and Bakugo were unbothered by their sensei's threat, either not taking it seriously or not at all worried about placing last. Meanwhile, Izuku's eyes were shining in awe at how awesome his dad was being. But that isn't fair, a brown-haired girl named Uraraka Ochako said. We all worked so hard to get here. To expel someone just like that is unfair. Unfair? Aizawa asked. Let me X. Before Aizawa could start on his speech, he was cut off by his son, who for all intents and purposes looked very pissed. Well, I guess I'll let the squirt give his piece, Aizawa sighed. Your definition of unfair is very different from mine, Uraraka. Izuku scoffed. The round-faced girl turned to the taller boy confused. Huh. Do you want to know what's really unfair? Natural disasters that can level entire cities. Pausing to let the girl take in the severity of his words, he then continues. What's really unfair is villains who attack and kill innocent civilians. Again, Izuku paused his speech to make sure they fully understood the meaning behind his words. By the wide-eyed looks he was receiving, he figured he was getting through to some of them. This test was not unfair, not compared to what they would encounter once in the real world. What's unfair? What's unfair is thinking a challenge like this is not fair compared to those life-threatening situations. If you can't handle a small hurdle like this, he gestured to his surroundings, then do you truly think you can handle being a hero? This profession is dangerous. You can die, and yet you think being told you might get expelled for not doing your best is not fair. Izuku yelled, heated up by the girl's words. By now Uraraka had taken a step back, the fire in her classmates' eyes becoming more intimidating by the minute. She couldn't help but rethink her prior words. You should leave now if you think this is unfair, he spat. Izuku, enough! Aizawa shouted, surprised at the animosity his son was currently displaying. While he did agree somewhat with what he was saying, he saw the look on his other students' faces begin to ashen and knew he had to finally step in. Izuku turned to his adoptive father blank-faced, before turning deep red in embarrassment, the touch of a familiar hand clutching his shoulder calming him down. Geez, Izuku, intense speech, don't you think? Though I won't say I disagree with you, I think you kinda scared the others, Kendo chuckled. He grumbled, not at all sorry for saying the truth. Kendo patted her friend's back, understanding why he was the way he was. All good. Let's just focus on these tests now, yeah? Yeah. Izuku then looked to his classmates to see most if not all of them looking even more nervous than before, except now it seemed he had gotten to the 3 students who had not taken their teacher's threat serious at first. All right then. Now that we understand what's at stake, let's do the rest of the tests. For the next 2 hours or so, the students were doing multiple sets of tests. Izuku looked over the list of tests, noticing that none looked overly difficult, but he could understand where someone who never exercised or worked with their quirk could fail. Anyone else notice Sensei has some sort of familiarity with Midoriya? A red-haired boy says. Yeah, I noticed that too. He keeps calling him by his first name, and for some reason I just get the feeling they're closer than student/sensei. You know? A plain-faced boy answered. What about that speech he made? Really makes you think about why you're here, Ribbit, a frog-like girl says. The rest of the class, listening to their classmates' conversation, begin to look at their teacher and the tall green-haired boy and wonder if there is some sort of connection to the two, while others thought about the boy's speech. Meanwhile, Itsuka Kendo was trying her best to hide the smile she had on her face, not wanting to reveal that her best friend did indeed have a connection to their sensei. Nice job trying to hide the fact you're his dad, Aizawa-sensei, she chuckled. Izuku, on the other hand, was facepalming. He didn't think he'd reveal his relationship with his dad so soon. I wonder how they'll react once they find out, he thought. Oh, that speech gave me the heebie-jeebies, Nijire shivered. I know, right? Who knew Izubro could be so passionate? Mirio smiled. I got chills, Tamaki mumbled. How did you 3 get out of class without getting in trouble? All Might asked, curious. He wasn't mad. Mainly surprised at the 3 occupants already standing in what was supposed to be his hiding spot while he watched over Midoriya. Oh, look, Izukun's up next against Robo-Boy? Nijire whisper shouted, hoping to avoid All Might's questioning. The purpose of these tests is to see what your quirks are capable of and to test their limits. Now go on to the other tests, Aizawa demanded. 50-meter dash. Midoriya was paired up with Ida to take the 50-meter dash. Your speech was truly inspiring, Midoriya. I hope you do your best and may the fastest student win, Ida said with an honest smile. Midoriya simply nodded, still on edge about the Robo-Boy. While he knew the other kid didn't know about his situation, it didn't give him a pass to insult him during the exams. Shaking those thoughts away, he activated One for All at 1%. Emerald lightning danced around the boy as he ignited flames at the bottom of his feet. Ida got into a sprinting position as the engines in his calves revved up. Midoriya also got into position. Aizawa blew the whistle telling the two students to sprint. They both took off at an impressive speed. Anyone watching was impressed by the speed of the two boys, more so the one using his flames as help to fly him across the track. Both students reached the finish line with their scores being announced by their sensei. To everyone's surprise, Izuku was able to beat the student with a speed quirk. Tenya Ida, 4.05 seconds. Izuku Midoriya, 3.01 seconds. Grip strength. Once it came time for the grip strength, the highest score was earned by a student named Mizo Shoji. He had a score of 540 kilograms. A mutant-type quirk that allowed him to have multiple arms. That is until it was Midoriya's turn, and while still having one for all activated, he earned himself a score of 825 kilograms. Standing long jump. Izuku just thought of what the Human Torch would do and lit up his hands to lift him off the ground, helping him clear the sandbox. This earned him an eye roll from Kendo and Aizawa, who knew exactly what he had done. Pfft. Izuku really likes the Human Torch, doesn't he? Nijire giggled. Yup, that's my Izubro, Mirio said proudly. Maybe he can change his hero name to the Emerald Torch? Tamaki jokingly offers. Okay, but seriously, when are you kids gonna tell me how you got out here? And why no one has come searching for you? All Might asked. Ball throw. Izuku had a nervous smile on his face as he walked to the circle. Tossing the ball up in the air, Izuku got a feel of the type of ball it was before tossing it up in the air. Lightweight but most likely still powerful enough to handle going at a high velocity. And if I'm right, it was made with a heat resistance so I can go as high as I want. So if anything, my best bet would be to. Once he was finished mumbling, Izuku shut his eyes, cocking his arm back, and prepared himself to throw. With one for all activated as well as his original quirk, Izuku catapulted the ball through the air, his flames adding an additional push to his throw. Finishing with his and Mirio's signature pose. Powie ear. Eft. Nijire giggled. That's right, Izubro, show them your powier. Mirio said from where he hid behind the school building, watching his little Izuku do his assessment test. Go Izuku, Tamaki chuckled. Hello, Snipe? Yeah, I have them with me. Well, I was wondering the same thing, but... Oh, you don't know how they left your class without alerting you either. How well, I guess if you're fine with it, then they can stay. The entire class stood back up, silently gaping at where their emerald classmate was. His ball toss garnering so much power in it, they were tossed back a few feet. Every student there was taken aback by the sheer force of the throw. The crater the boy had created around him only further proved that Midoriya was not one to be taken lightly. Even Shoto Todoroki, son of the number 2 hero, showed some surprise by the force behind the boy's throw. Aizawa looked at his phone and showed Izuku's score to the class. 1,500 M. Good job. He's pretty strong, and if I heard right, he got the highest score in the entrance exam since All Might. I need to keep an eye on him. Todoroki thought to himself. HHH, help, help, it's happening again. I take it back, he's an idiot, Todoroki thought, watching as the boy in front of him rolled back and forth on the ground trying to put himself out. There was limits to what Aizawa could handle when it came to his kid, and watching him run around in circles as what should have been a fireproof gym suit burned away, he could only slap his face in hopes of waking up from this nightmare. Jesus, Izuku, stop. Izuku looked to his dad, who had activated his quirk, erasing Izuku's flames, leaving the teen in a charred pants and half-burnt shirt. Blushing, he turned to his classmates, who couldn't help but laugh at the broccoli-haired boy, no longer intimidated by the powerhouse. Oh man, thanks, Aizawa. That was a close one. You are literally fireproof. How do you panic every time this happens? Aizawa deadpants. I don't know, habit? You are one of a kind. Bakugo, on the other hand, was trying to process what the fuck just happened. Despite seeing the idiot run around on fire, he still couldn't dismiss the fact that Deku had a stronger quirk. How the hell did Deku hide such a fucking strong quirk for so long? Bakugo thought while looking at the orphan punk continue to run around on fire despite their teacher yelling at him to calm down. Bakugo hated the fact that Deku had a quirk that was almost close to it did surpass the power of his quirk. This idiot is somehow stronger than me. Bakugo had decided after seeing Deku first use his quirk that he would solely focus on his own performance, blocking everything out as he focused on becoming stronger and being number one. He had a dream of achieving victory like All Might, but how could he do that when there was someone who was closer to that possibility than him? Was this shithead lying to me this whole fucking time? Was he hiding his power just to show it off at the right time and have a better origin story than me? That's it. He wanted to make me look like a fool this entire time, his anger increasing at an alarming rate. That was not at all Izuku's intention. He actually never lied to Bakugo, and his origin story was always going to be better than Bakugo's, the narrator explained. This fucking weakling ain't that special. He kept repeating this sentence to himself until he finally believed his words. He never believed his words. Damn orphan pitying the likes of me. I think the fuck not. He exploded. Quite literally. Bang. Hey, Orphan Annie. How dare you fucking hold back against me all these years? I'll fucking murder you. Bakugo snapped as he charged towards the taller boy, who was in the middle of putting out whatever leftover flames was on him. Not caring about anyone else, he continued towards the other teen ready to beat the crap out of him for throwing dirt on his pride. You've been laughing at me this entire time. You think just because you have this quirk you can beat me? Well, think again, fucker, because I will take you down. However, before Bakugo could even get near Izuku, a pair of arms wrapped around him, lifting him off the ground, halting him from attacking the nerd. Similarly, a buff body popped up from the ground in front of him with a mischievous smile, arms crossed, while another walked slowly towards the blonde with a pair of pants in hand. Let go of me, extras. I'll kill ya, he growled. Oh, ho ho, it seems Bakugo hasn't learned his lesson on what happens when you mess with Izubro. Isn't that right, Tamaki? Mirio chuckled. Seems like it, he mumbled. Which is weird because we just talked to him a while ago, Nijire added, still holding on to Bakugo tightly. Once Bakugo calmed down and recognized the faces, he immediately began to panic inwardly. It was exactly who he didn't want to encounter on the first day. Despite putting up a strong front to intimidate his classmates, when it came to the three teens in front of him, he knew no matter how strong he acted, he would always get his ass handed to him. Sensei, what the hell? Make these extras let me go. Normally I would, since they're interrupting my class, but given the circumstances, I'll allow it as I explain something to you. I don't tolerate bullying in my class. I also will not tolerate you calling Izuku Midoriya Orphan Annie. I'm not sure what your problem is with Izuku is, but I swear if I hear you make any more comments like that again, I won't hesitate to punish you accordingly. Oh, and I know about your past with him, so one more slip up like that and I won't hesitate to expel you. Bakugo was in shock. He had never received such a threat from a teacher. So, hearing those words had shaken him to the core, silencing any vulgar words he might have said back when he was in middle school. And to the rest of the class, looking to the others with a dangerous glint in his eyes. If anyone here ever calls or makes fun of Izuku Midoriya for his status, I will do the same to you as I promised Bakugo. Do you understand? Oh yes. We will also not hesitate to do something for the record, Mirio says with a smile on his face. Izuku and Itsuka would have laughed at the way their classes' heads shook like bobbleheads had the situation not been so serious. After that whole incident, the students were shown their results of the assessment test. First place, Izuku Midoriya. Second place, Momo Yaoyorozu. Third place, Shoto Todoroki. Fourth place, Katsuki Bakugo. Hey Izuku, and look at that, you got number 1, isn't that great? Then again, you are a little beefcake. Indeed. Our workout has clearly paid off, don't you think, Tamaki? Definitely. Izuku's gotten very strong. Will you 3 leave already? Aizawa yelled. Sorry, they yelled, running off. After his friends left, Izuku looked at the scoreboard again and wasn't surprised to see he was in the top spot, as Nijire and Mirio pointed out. Not that he was being cocky or anything, but as Mirio said, given he does these types of exercises on the regular, it just didn't surprise him. However, he just couldn't help but feel bad. 20th place. Minoru Mineta the grapehead started crying. There's so many hot girls in this class too. No dash never mind. Nobody is going to be expelled. Ha! The entire class except for, once again, Momo, Bakugo, and Todoroki were surprised. Even Izuku was surprised at the turn of events. It was shocking to hear his dad change his mind on expelling a student. It was a lie. Logical deception to make all of you do your best. Aizawa smiled. The class went white with shock. A few even fell over from fatigue. Momo Yaoyorozu, recommended student and genius heiress she was, decided to speak up and calm everyone down. Or so she thought she would. I'm surprised you all didn't figure it out. Sorry, I probably should have said something. Momo told them, putting a hand on her hip. To be honest, Aizawa wasn't lying about expelling one of these poor fools. If even one of them showed zero potential whatsoever, then they would have gotten kicked out. Aizawa would never admit it to their faces, but he saw potential in all of them. Even if some of them had personality flaws that would drag down their performance, they could overcome that in time and become outstanding heroes, without a doubt. However, he wasn't going to tell them that. Of course, that didn't mean his son wasn't going to, and he could already tell from the sharp glint in his eye he was going to speak up. What a problem child, he sighed. Actually, Yaoyorozu, Aizawa-sensei wasn't lying. I'm not sure why, but his promise of expelling someone was no logical ruse. Ever since he's worked here, he's expelled at least one class, or at least a student who showed absolutely no potential in being a hero. In total, over 125 students have been expelled from UA by him. Shock was seen on the heiress's face once knowing she was wrong. To find out that there was in fact a chance one of them could have been expelled so easily. The reality was frightening. Why do you think there's no second-year hero class here? Midoriya added. What? Izuku, could you not reveal all my secrets on the first day? Aizawa sighed. Oh, sorry. It's fine. Anyways, that concludes your first day here at UA. You're free to go home now. Hopefully you're all ready for the hardships UA will put you lot through. It will be one bone-breaking test after another. Welcome to hell. Aizawa gave them a creepy smile. Aizawa was on his way to the faculty room when he was stopped by All Might and the Three Stooges. Aizawa. Being a little soft on the class this year, don't you think? All Might joked. Yeah. I really thought you were gonna expel the little grape boy, Nijire said. Indeed, Miro agreed. Even I was surprised, sensei. Tamaki whispered. Aizawa sighed. Why was he not surprised the big three toddlers were here and not in class? Look, they have potential, and I don't let go of those without potential. Also, why were you three here with All Might? We wanted to see how our little Izuku did on his first day, of course. As the students left to change and head back to the classroom, they were all trying to decide how to address their classmate on the elephant in the room. Hey, Midoriya? Yeah? Kirishima, right? Yeah. I was wondering why Bakugo called you Orphan Annie, and Aizawa-sensei seems so familiar with you. Izuku figured he was going to have to address this sooner or later. He just didn't expect it to be so soon. Running a hand through his hair. So that's why Nijire does it. Izuku thought of what he should say. Well, I guess it was bound to get out sooner or later. The answer to both your questions is Izuku-kun. Izubro. Izuku. Oomph. We missed you. Let's go home, it's Katsudon night. Mirio shouted, carrying the younger boy out of class before Izuku could finish speaking to Kirishima. The rest of class staring at the spot that was just occupied by their classmate. Who were those guys? Mina asked. That's the third time we've seen them. Those were his best friends. Expect to see them a lot, Kendo laughed, walking out to meet up with the four weirdos. Well, I guess we'll have to wait to find out about Bakugo and Aizawa-sensei tomorrow, Kaminari sighed. The class nodding in agreement. How was school, Izubro? You know, aside from when Bakugo tried attacking you? Mirio asked. Izuku sighed. To be honest, it was exhausting, but at the same time exciting because it was also the first day of him being on his way to be a hero. It was great. Mirio and the others looked to Izuku to see if he was lying, but from the shine in his eyes and giant smile he was projecting they could see he was telling the truth. Awesome. Then let's hurry to your house. Present Mike is making katsudon for us. Nijire yelled before jumping on her boyfriend's back. Ugh. Geez, yeah. Okay, just hop on the Izuku Express, I guess. Izuku mumbled. Oh yeah, that's a good name for you, Nijire cooed. What, no, it's... Please don't start calling me that, babe. Izuku cried. Too late, Izuku Express. Oh, Mirio. Tamaki, join me on the Izuku Express. What, no? Izuku yelled, already thinking about the back pains he'll be feeling if they do jump on. Okay. Mirio said happily. Sure, I guess. Tamaki mumbled. Before Izuku could stop them, they had already jumped onto his back and begun assembling themselves totem pole style. So as not to break his back, Izuku activated one for all, helping lighten the burden on himself. Well, is everyone on securely? Izuku sighed. Nope, we still need Kendo. Izuku looked to his left to see the ginger-haired girl trying to back away, shaking her head no. I'm sorry guys, but no. I am not joining you on your death trap thing. Ah, but come on, it's not complete if we're all not here, Nijire pouted. Indeed, Kendo-san. Don't worry, just use your quirk, and you'll be able to climb me Tamaki and Nijire, and join us in no time. No, really, I'm good. Kendo said, trying but failing to get out of joining them. Itsuka just joined them already, Izuku sighed, not even caring he would be carrying 4 people on his shoulders. Biting her lip, the girl looked at the 3 friends stacked on top of each other before rolling her eyes, and after throwing all her sanity out the window activated her quirk so she could climb the childish older teens. Meanwhile, Izuku ignored all the stares they were garnering while keeping balance. Once Kendo finally sat atop Nijire's shoulders, Mirio patted Izuku's head to indicate they were all ready to go. Onwards, Izuku! The 3 older teens shouted. Itsuka too embarrassed to speak as she watched people begin to take pictures of the 5 stacked together. Well, this is my life now. Izuku chuckled, while listening to Mirio and the others try and direct him home. This is your kid? Aizawa, Present Mike, cackled alongside Midnight, who had found a trending photo of a student from UA carrying 4 other UA students on his shoulders, the internet dubbing them the human totem pole. Yeah, he is. And I wouldn't trade him for the world, he chuckled.
That's it for today. Remember to show your support to the creator of this story if you enjoyed it. If you would like more parts of the story to be uploaded, leave a comment and subscribe to get notified when the story continues. Bye-bye for now, and I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day.